Have you ever laid down to sleep and suddenly your mind started shouting the moment the lights went off? Have you ever noticed that the more you try to force sleep, the more awake your body becomes? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight is for anyone whose day ends, but whose thoughts refuse to end. We are going to use Buddhist wisdom as a soft lamp, not to fight your mind, but to stop feeding the loop that keeps your nervous system on guard. Two truths will guide everything we do tonight. First, overthinking is not intelligence. It is often fear wearing the mask of responsibility. Second, sleep is not something you conquer. Sleep is something you allow when you stop gripping life with the mind. So here is where we begin. Not with a perfect technique, not with a promise that your mind will become silent. We begin with a shift in relationship. Instead of saying I must stop thinking, we will practice saying I can notice thinking without obeying it. That small shift is awakening. And awakening is not only a big spiritual word. Awakening is what happens when you stop being dragged by habit and start returning, breath by breath, to what is real. Let me tell you a story to carry you into the night. There was someone I will call Nora. Nora was capable, thoughtful, and the kind of person others relied on. But at night, Nora felt like a different person. The body would be tired, the bed would be comfortable, the room would be quiet, and yet inside Nora there was noise. The noise was not always panic. Sometimes it was planning. Sometimes it was replaying. Sometimes it was self-criticism. Sometimes it was the mind trying to predict danger in the future, as if prediction could substitute for safety. Nora would lie down and tell herself, "Okay, relax." That instruction only made the mind respond like a stubborn child. Then Nora would try, "I need to sleep now." That made sleep feel like a test. And tests make the body tense. Then Nora would scroll the phone for a while, because stimulation felt easier than facing the inner noise. Eventually the eyes would feel heavy, but the mind would still be working, and the body would fall asleep in pieces instead of sinking as a whole. One night Nora sat up in bed and whispered into the dark, "Why am I like this? Why can I not just rest?" The next day, Nora met an older neighbor named Ishan in the elevator. Ishan was not overly cheerful, not performing calm. He was simply steady. Nora had noticed that steadiness before but never asked about it. That morning, Nora was too tired to keep pretending. Nora said, "I cannot sleep. My mind will not stop." Ishan nodded as if Nora had said something very common. "Most minds do not stop when the lights go off," he said. "Most minds finally get the stage when the world becomes quiet." Nora asked, "What do you do?" Ishan said, "I practice." Nora expected advice about supplements or routines. Instead, Ishan said, "I practice meeting thoughts like clouds, not like commands. Buddhist teachings help me understand that my mind is not an enemy. It is a conditioned habit, and habits can be retrained." Nora felt skeptical and hungry at the same time. Skeptical because the mind wanted a quick fix. Hungry because something in Nora recognized that the struggle with the mind was the real problem. Ishan invited Nora to a short evening session at a community center. Nora went, not because Nora loved spiritual talk, but because Nora could not keep paying the nightly tax of exhaustion. The room was simple. The teacher was a woman named Leon. Leon began without ceremony. She said, "If you are here because you overthink at night, I want you to know something important. Overthinking is not proof you are broken. Overthinking is often proof your nervous system has learned to associate uncertainty with danger. The mind produces thoughts the way a guard dog produces barking. It thinks it is protecting you, but the barking can keep you awake." Nora said, That is exactly what it feels like. My mind is trying to protect me from the future by rehearsing it. Leon nodded. The question is whether rehearsal actually protects you, or whether it drains you. When you are drained, you are less able to handle the real future. So the training is not to eliminate care. The training is to replace worry with wisdom. Nora asked, "What does that mean at night when I am alone with my thoughts?" Leon smiled gently. "Tonight you will learn 3 skills. First, you will stop treating thoughts as urgent. Second, you will stop adding a second arrow of suffering. Third, you will practice compassion so your body learns it is safe enough to release." Nora did not understand fully, but the words felt like a doorway. Leon guided a short practice. Feel the breath. Inhale, exhale. Notice thoughts. Do not fight. Return. Nora tried and immediately felt thoughts rushing in. Work, money, relationships, health, mistakes, future. Nora opened her eyes. Embarrassed, Leanne said, "You did not fail. You just saw what you have been practicing for years. Now we practice a different response." That night, Nora returned home and tried to apply what Leon taught. But the real test did not happen at the beginning of the night. The real test happened at that familiar moment when the mind usually grabs a single thought and turns it into a whole storm. Nora lay down. The room was quiet. Then a thought appeared. A message from earlier in the day that sounded cold. The mind began building the familiar story. They are upset. I ruined something. I will be rejected. I will be alone. Nora felt the body tense, especially the chest and throat. This was the moment where the old habit would take over. The old habit was to interrogate the thought, to replay every sentence, to search for certainty, to plan defenses, to rehearse apologies, to imagine outcomes. But Nora remembered Leon's first skill, stopped reading thoughts as urgent. So Nora tried something that felt almost too simple. Nora said inwardly, "This is a thought, not denial, not pretending, just labeling. This is a thought." The thought did not disappear, but it lost some authority. It became an object in awareness instead of a law. Nora took one breath, then another. Then Nora remembered the second skill. Do not add the second arrow. The first arrow was the discomfort of uncertainty and the sting of a cold message. The second arrow was the endless story that turned the discomfort into a life sentence. Nora asked quietly, "What do I actually know right now?" Right now, Nora knew only this. A message happened. A feeling happened. The rest was imagination. That question created space. And in the space, Nora did something new. Nora chose not to solve the whole future at midnight. Nora chose the next wise action. The next wise action was not texting impulsively. The next wise action was to rest. Then speak calmly tomorrow, if needed. Then Nora remembered the third skill, compassion. Nora placed a hand on the chest and said silently, "This is hard, and I am human." Something softened, not instantly, but clearly. The nervous system responded to kindness, like a child responding to a steady voice. Nora still woke up once that night. But when the mind began again, Nora returned again. And that was new. Nora did not fall into self-hatred about being awake. Nora treated what the finals as practice. Over the next week, Nora returned to Liana and said, "I still think at night, but I suffer less. How do I go deeper?" Lian said, "Good. Now we will go deeper. Because stopping overthinking is not only about sleep, it is about liberation. Sleep is a door. Behind the door is a life with less needless suffering." Leon explained that overthinking has a hidden engine. clinging to certainty, clinging to control, clinging to being liked, clinging to being right, clinging to a fixed story of self. At night, when the world is quiet, the mind tries to rebuild control by thinking. But control is not built by thinking. Control is often an illusion produced by thinking. Leon said, "The Buddha taught that suffering increases when we cling to what cannot be held. The future cannot be held. Other people's feelings cannot be held. Your image cannot be held. The only thing you can practice holding is your attention, gently, like holding a sleeping child, not like holding a rope in a storm." Nora asked how to hold attention when thoughts keep pulling. Leon answered with a metaphor. Imagine your attention is a lamp. Thoughts are moths. If you fight moths, you exhaust yourself. If you keep the lamp steady, moths come and go. The practice is not to kill moths. The practice is to keep the lamp steady. Nora began practicing the lamp at night. Instead of chasing thoughts, Nora kept returning to breath, not forcing breath, noticing breath. But Nora also asked a deeper question. Why does the mind pick the night to attack? Leon said, "It is not only night, it is silence. During the day you distract yourself and call it normal life. At night distraction fades, and the mind shows you what it carries. This can feel like torture, or it can feel like truth. If you meet it with wisdom, night becomes a teacher." Then Leon offered Nora a teaching about karma that reframed the whole struggle. Karma is what you repeatedly feed. Your mind becomes what it practices. Overthinking is not an identity. Overthinking is a groove. Each time you follow a thought to the end of the loop, you deepen the groove. Each time you notice and return, you soften the groove. Nora realized that every night had been training. It had been training worry. Now it could train return. Leon suggested a simple bedtime training that Nora could repeat without turning it into a performance. First, reduce stimulation before bed. Not because stimulation is evil, but because the mind is already trained to run. You do not need to hand it more fuel. Second, before lying down, do 1 minute of honest presence. Feel your feet, feel your breath, relax the jaw. Let shoulders drop, not perfect, just softer. Third, set a gentle intention. Tonight I practice letting go. Fourth, when thoughts come, use a 3-step response. Notice, name, return. Notice thought, name thought, return to breath or body. Fifth, if emotions rise, add compassion. This is hard. I am human. May I be gentle? Nora tried this for several nights. The change was not instant, but it was real. The mind still produced thoughts, but the thoughts felt less like a prison and more like weather. One night Nora had a setback. A real stressful day, eye conflict at work, an uncertain medical appointment. That night the mind was louder than usual. Nora felt discouraged and thought, this is not working. Then Nora remembered something Leon said. Do not turn practice into a scoreboard. If you do that, you add another layer of suffering. A hard night does not mean you are failing. A hard night means conditions are strong. Practice is to return under strong conditions. So Nora did not fight. Nora returned. Again and again. In the middle of the night, Nora remembered a short Zen-style story Leon shared. A student complained, "My mind is restless." The teacher said, "Bring me your restless mind." The student said, "I cannot find it." The teacher said, "Then it is already at rest." Nora smiled faintly in the dark. The restless mind felt huge, but when Nora tried to locate it, it dissolved into sensations, images, and words. The monster became pieces. Pieces are easier to hold with compassion. Nora began to locate thoughts in the body. Worry was a tightness in the chest. Fear was a heat in the stomach. Self-criticism was a pressure in the forehead. When Nora noticed the sensations directly, the story weakened. This is a deep Buddhist truth. The mind creates suffering by turning sensations into stories. When you return to direct experience, stories lose power. Leon also taught Nora about impermanence as a bedtime ally. Everything changes, including this thought, including this feeling, including this night. When you remember impermanence, you stopped reading insomnia as a permanent identity. You stopped saying, "I will never sleep." You start saying, "This is a wave. It will pass." Nora used that sentence at night. This is a wave. It will pass. And slowly, the body began to believe it. Now let us make this personal for you. Because you might be listening late at night right now. You might be tired. You might feel annoyed that your mind will not stop. You might feel afraid that tomorrow will be hard. So I want to offer you a gentle path through the next minutes, not as a command, as an invitation. First, allow the night to be the night. If you are awake, you are awake. Fighting wake capsules creates a second problem. The first problem is being awake. The second problem is hating being awake. Drop the second problem. Second, feel one real breath. Inhale, exhale. Do not try to make it special. Let it be ordinary. Ordinary is safe. Third, soften one place in your body. The jaw, the shoulders, the hands. Choose one place. Soften it slightly. That is enough. Fourth, when a thought comes, label it with kindness. Planning thought, fear thought, memory thought, self-criticism thought. You are not insulting yourself. You are naming the visitor at the door. Fifth, return to one anchor. Breath, the feeling of the blanket, the weight of your body, the contact of your feet. Choose one. Return there gently. Sixth, if emotion rises, use compassion. This is hard. I am human. May I be gentle. This is not weakness. This is how the nervous system learns trust. Now, a key teaching that changes the whole struggle. You do not need to stop thinking to fall asleep. You need to stop believing every thought deserves your attention. Think of your mind like a radio. The radio can be on. You can still fall asleep if you stop dancing to the music. If you stop judging the music. If you stop running around the room trying to smash the radio. Let the radio play while you rest your body. Many nights, the radio quiets on its own when it is not rewarded with attention. Nora learned this. The more Nora fought the mind, the louder it got. The more Nora watched the mind without fear, the more the mind settled. Now let me tell you about the deeper transformation that happened for Nora, because this is the part that becomes life-changing. As Nora slept better, Nora also started to live differently during the day. Nora realized that nighttime overthinking was fueled by daytime habits. Constant stimulation, constant multitasking, constant comparison, harsh inner talk, unfinished conversations, unspoken boundaries. So Nora began making small changes in daylight that made nighttime easier. Nora practiced one mindful meal each day, eating without a screen for a few minutes. Nora practiced short pauses before responding in conflict, reducing regret. Nora reduced gossip, noticing how gossip made the mind restless at night. Nora practiced right speech, choosing words that weren't ruined, not cruel. Nora took short walks without the phone, letting the mind clear naturally. This is karma in action. Seeds planted in the day grow into the quality of the night. A cleaner day often becomes a quieter pillow. Nora also learned to forgive herself faster. Self-hatred is rocket fuel for insomnia. When you carry shame into bed, the mind will replay it. When you carry forgiveness, the mind has less to chew. Leon taught Nora a simple evening reflection, not a harsh evaluation, a gentle review. Where did I create suffering today? Where did I reduce suffering today? What is one seed I want to plant tomorrow? Then release the day. Nora started doing that unnoticed. The mind became less likely to ambush her at midnight with a list of failures, because Nora had already met the day with honesty and kindness. Now, there is another Buddhist teaching that matters deeply for sleep: non-attachment. Non-attachment does not mean you stop caring. Non-attachment means you stop gripping. You stop demanding that everything be certain before you allow yourself to rest. At night, many people try to solve uncertainty with thought, but uncertainty is not solved. Uncertainty is lived. Wisdom is learning how to live without needing to know everything right now. If this is you, I want you to try one sentence tonight. I do not know, and I can rest anyway. Say it softly inside. I do not know, and I can rest anyway. That sentence is courage. That sentence is awakening, because real safety is not certainty. Real safety is the ability to respond wisely even when you do not know. Now I want to close with a longer reflection, because sleep content is not only about tips. It is about companionship in the dark. If you are awake right now, you might feel alone, but you are not alone. There are countless people staring at ceilings, carrying invisible burdens, trying to be strong in a world that never stops asking for more. Buddhist wisdom does not mock you for overthinking. It understands you. It says, of course your mind runs. The mind runs because it learned to run, but you can't teach it to return. Returning is not glamorous. Returning is quiet. Returning is the practice that changes destiny, because destiny is not only what happens to you. Destiny is how your mind meets what happens. The same conditions can feel like prison or path depending on the mind you cultivate. So if tonight you can return even one time, that matters. If tonight you can soften one time, that matters. If tonight you can treat yourself like someone worth caring for, that matters. And if sleep comes, let it come like a friend. If sleep does not come quickly, let rest come anyway. Rest your jaw, rest your shoulders, rest your belly, rest your eyes, rest your heart from fighting. Because even a wakeful body can learn peace when the mind stops turning the night into war. Now I want to invite you to share something in the comments. What is the main theme your mind repeats at night? Is it the future, the past, relationships, money, school, work, health, self-judgment? And what is one phrase from tonight that you want to carry into your next bedtime? If this helped you, subscribe to the channel for more long, calm Buddhist teachings for sleep, meditation, and daily life. Like the video so it can reach someone who feels trapped in their own thoughts tonight. And if you want to support the channel in a deeper way, consider becoming a member so we can keep making these long, gentle journeys you can return to again and again. Until next time, let your breath be simple. Let your attention be kind. Let your thoughts come and go without being chased. And remember that real rest begins the moment you stop trying to force the mind and start practicing a softer relationship with life.